Rafael Lozano-Hemmer, we believe, is one of the most important contemporary artists working today. And he's not just important because he's working today with today's technologies, but he's done that consistently over some 25 years now. So we wanted to do a survey show that would highlight the importance of his work, highlight the fact that here's an artist who deals with the messages of our time, with the means of our time, the tools of our time, and yet at the same time can convey that in a way that is playful, that is interactive, that engages the public, and can be critical of the conditions of engagement.
So we made a selection of about 20 works, and we wanted to give a sense of the different kind of avenues that Rafael has explored over the last 20 years. Most of the works are more recent, the last 5 years. And we developed this idea of co-presence as the theme, or the sort of the way that we would structure the selection of works. So the idea of our presence with the works themselves, the way we interact or participate with the works, also being aware of the presence of others in the space at the same time and how that may impact the work. And so it has a social dimension to it. It also, we wanted to pick up on the poetic and the political aspects of the work. We wanted to give a sense of the different kinds of materialities of the work, because he is a media artist, but he makes sculptures and he makes photographs and he makes immersive installations. He is primarily known for public art works on a very large scale, but we see in the exhibition very small works and also very large installations. And we wanted to give visitors a sense of the historical, the poetic, the references that he uses that come from the avant-garde, or come from Mexican poetry, or come from theoretical writings, philosophy. So those are the ideas that we were playing with.
And maybe to add to that, despite the fact that we believe he's important because he employs current media and current technologies, this is rarely done with the idea that you foreground the technology, but rather you foreground the way that it impacts us, impacts our behavior. So hopefully visitors who will go through the show will not think too much about technologies unless it is made precisely the topic of that one installation. For example, Zoom Pavilion is at the opening of the show and really foregrounds the way that we interact socially, that we relate to each other, how that is dependent on technologies of surveillance, face recognition algorithms, and yet at the same time it's a stage where we can explore how we can interact with each other, knowing that we are being targeted, we are being framed, we are subject to a whole set of possibly political moves and procedures.
I would say there are a couple of challenges. One is the works have some of the works have very specific requirements in terms of space. There's sound in many of them, and so the challenge is to articulate the visit so that visitors are not going from one box to another box, to isolate the work somewhat. And so that's a technical challenge. And then the other challenge, I would say, is how to modulate the exhibition so that the engagement that the visitors have is different. So you go from something quite immersive to then you're thinking in one way, and then you turn the corner and something else is happening. And so that plan has to think about how the visitor will come through. Of course, it's using technologies, it's using computers, it's using facial recognition cameras and surveillance cameras, and so there are technological and technical challenges. He has a very wonderful team, and so those challenges become their challenges, less than the curatorial challenges. And I think that the idea of giving a sense of the different historical references without it becoming didactic or pedagogical.
Yeah, I would add to that maybe the space you need for a large survey show of this type of work is enormous. We're very grateful to Marco to provide us that amount of space. It still feels like it's only about 20 works. It's not that many, but each work requires its own space. So it's actually a fairly large show. And I think it's beautifully installed. The spaces are wonderfully able to accommodate this kind of work. And yet, one of the biggest challenges was the electric current for one work that was not stable. And that is nothing that you as a museum or as a curator can actually influence. So the technicians were working very hard for 2 weeks on just getting the right voltage and the right currency, if you will.